And we are live.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Tim Terranova, the proud superintendent of the Victor Central School District, and we are here on this April beautiful afternoon. You can see the sun coming through both our windows here, so apologize for the glare, but it's a good sign to have the sun out in April. And joining me is our Assistant Superintendent for Business, Ms. Christine Griffin. Christine, welcome to the April Town Hall. Good to have you.
Thank you. Good to be here for my very first town hall.
Yeah, so probably make the connection since Christine is overseeing our finance department. We are going to talk about the 25-26 budget tonight. We are live, so if you have a question while we are presenting the budget that was adopted by the Board of Education on April 10th, if you have any questions, you can just put them in the Facebook feed, and we're trying to keep track of those questions, and if there are any, we'll answer them. If you have questions later, or we don't for some reason get to your questions tonight, we will put the answers in Facebook over the next couple days. We want to make sure we're transparent with any answers to questions. So without further ado, I'm going to ask Christine and Aaron to put the PowerPoint up on the screen, and we'll go through a brief review of the 25-26 budget. So today is April 22nd, 2025. Want to share a little bit about what's the agenda for tonight. So we're going to talk a little bit about the goals of our budget process. We always start with our objectives and goals. We're going to do the final review of revenue and expenditures. And the expenditures is what the board adopts and what the district community votes on in May. And we'll talk a little bit more specifically about those expenditures, the revenue, our recommendations, and certainly the budget calendar moving forward through May. Our goals have not changed since really in the last 2 to 3 years. We have to have the ability to enhance that amazing comprehensive education that the Victor Central School District offers our students. We want to make sure that we are spending the resources on the major goals of the district strategic. You know that we have a 5-year strategic plan that started 3 years ago. We're going to be going into our 4th year of our 5-year plan next year. And each year we have what's called a management plan that details the specific goals for that year tied to the strategic plan. We want to continue to make sure that our resources are aligned to that management plan, ultimately to the strategic plan. We want to try to make sure we save at least a little bit of money at the end of each year to stabilize our reserves, which are our savings accounts that we utilize, for example, for the capital project that was approved by the voters in October. Want to figure out ways to, which Christine does a great job of, maximizing every dollar spent. Where can we spend money and then ultimately get aid on it the following year? That's really important. And that's where the concept of having aid really supports revenue for the future years. And I would say as important as any of the other goals, certainly we want to be transparent with the school community and the public.
Thank you, Tim. I'm going to take over here with and give you guys a little overview on where we're at with our expenditures. The proposed expenditure budget for the 25-26 school year, as adopted by the Board of Education at their April 10th meeting, is $109,771,405. That is an increase of $6,546,486 from the prior fiscal year. Or a percentage of 6.34%. A few things I want to highlight on this page. The largest portion of any school district's budget is our staff. We're a people business, and our professional salaries and our fringe benefits really make up about 83.4 million of our overall budget, or 76% of our budget. This category alone is up 3.3 million over the prior year, or 4.2%. But we just want to point out on that, while our salaries and benefit costs are increasing 4.2%, this is really due to contractual obligations for existing staff. As noted in previous presentations, we are not adding staff in 25-26. Any staffing changes that we proposed were done on a budget neutral basis. So, benefits alone, I did want to point that out as well. That's up 1.9 million or 6.64% in and of itself. Another line item that's important to note is our BOCES purchase services. That is a significant increase of 1.8 million over prior year. It's really been growing over time, our actual expenditures, but we really haven't been adjusting the budgeted line accordingly. And what's really been driving that growth is in our technology and special ed services that we get through BOCES. This year we took a deep dive into that line, looked at historical trends, and wanted to make sure that our full year expenditures were reflected in our budget. So that's why you're going to see an increase in that line. Another significant portion of our budget is our debt service line. While that only went up $213,000 or 2.98%, it does make up 6.7% of our budget. And that is directly related to our obligations for the bonds and principal, the interest and principal for prior capital projects, and also for our bus purchases that we've made over the years. Those expenses really are supported though also on the revenue side through our transportation aid for those financed bus purchases, and also for building aid for the capital projects. Lastly, another thing to point out is, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's also fair to say that the BOCES expenditures generate aid the following year.
Correct. They are one of the categories of expense-based aid. BOCES, transportation, and building aid are all expense-based aid. So we do get aid that following fiscal year according to those expenditures and our state aid ratios. Good to point out. On our contractual line, we do see an increase of that. That is 4.3% of our budget. While that is showing a large increase also from prior years, mostly due to our increased reliance on contract transportation, which is $520,000 alone of that increase. Also, we saw a large increase in our general liability insurance, as well as we did reflect an increase for our utility costs on that. Dr. Terranova, did you want to talk about where we are in relation to our neighbors?
The per pupil expenditure is simply the total expenditure budget divided by the number of students that we have in Victor. And you'll see, and we've shown this chart over the last 4 years really, and it's still the same concept. Despite, if you look at after the vote, if the budget is successfully passed in the community, we calculated a per pupil expenditure to be $25,762 per student. That is significantly less than the current average per pupil expenditure for kids in Monroe County, for kids in Ontario County, which includes our average, and also for Wayne County. So whether you look at before the vote or after the vote, you can see that we are still being very, very, I guess I'd use the word competitive in terms of the financial part of the per pupil expenditure in relation to other districts across really the 3 closest counties, including our own Ontario, Wayne, and Monroe County.
Shifting gears to revenues. At this point in time, we do not have any new updates from Albany regarding the state budget. The state legislature had passed a 5th budget extender, taking them through April 23rd, 2025, which is tomorrow. We're waiting to see, what comes from that. If we'll have a budget tomorrow, or if they'll do another extender. But given the deadline for school districts to adopt their budget and to have everything ready in time for the vote, the board adopted the budget on April 10th, despite the uncertainty in state aid numbers. So the board adopted revenues that, absent a final budget from New York State, We did project a slight increase in our state aid from the governor's proposal that was released early in January. When you compare it to last year, we anticipate about a $1 million increase, or 2.67% from prior year. Some state aid estimates are based on projections as of June 30th of 2024. Some state aid estimates are based on data that's not final. So it's hard to actually predict a final number on that. But we do believe, after diving into the numbers, we think that we're going to be right about that number. The tax levy for the 25-26 school year will be $60,523,516, which is an increase of $1,785,957. That is a 3.04% increase over prior year. That increase is within the tax cap. The district is not exceeding the tax cap this year. Other local sources of revenue is increasing 3.7 million, really from two main sources. About $336,000 of that change is relevant to our payment in lieu of taxes going up. Those are properties that are not in the assessment and don't pay traditional property taxes, but they pay an alternate, what we traditionally call pilot, or that's the acronym for that. Also, the use of fund balance is that we're using to cover next year's budget is $3.6 million of that. So while that's a significant increase, you know, I caution, and you know, we've talked about this significantly, Dr. Terranova and I, and we've talked to the board as well, that you know, the increased use of fund balance, you know, is really a short-term fix and not a long-term solution. You know, and it may create future challenges in budgets. So we need to take a look at that. You know, one example that you look at for our property taxes are going up 3.04%. Our state taxes are going up 2.67%. But if you looked at just our staffing costs, with no additional staff, that alone is going up 4.2%. So, you know, our revenues need to keep pace with our expenses. So looking at our use of fund balance, something that we're going to have to take a look at going forward, looking at our long-range financial plan, and as we head into the believe it or not, 26-27 budget when we start that next fall.
We just add to that, you know, we're always trying to have some contingency or fund balance left over each year. Our goal would be to the planning for this year's budget, 24-25, to have more money saved than 3.658 million. We use the 3.658 million to again appropriate for next year's budget, but hopefully we'll have more money and savings either through a little more revenue than expected or savings and expenses to add to our reserves at the end of this year, so that we can keep our reserves stabilized, which is one of our major goals. And then we've also built in fund balance next year in next year's budget to carry on that, and community if we have to use or if we have to appropriate some of that for the following year's budget, we'll have it. That's the goal. But we'd rather not appropriated fund balance for the next year's budget and put the money either away in reserves or for emergency use. So that's the challenge right now, is with the what Christine just explained, the increase in expenses, which is greater than our increase in revenue. We have to use some of that fund balance, but we don't want to get in a situation where we start draining our reserves. That's where we become really fiscally challenged, and we don't want to end up in that spot. Thank you, Christine.
Great. So overall, budget to budget, our projected expenditures for the 25-26 school year are up 6.5 million, or 6.34%. Our levies up 1.7 million, or 3.04%. Our true value tax rate is showing an increase of 0.23, which is 1.79% increase. I can give you a little, I'll give you on this next slide. So for a $200,000 home, what that would mean is a change over prior year of about $46, or 1.79%. So the estimated tax bills up here that you're seeing are based on the true value tax rates. They don't reflect any star exemptions or credits. Final assessment rolls are not established until June 30th of 2025. So the final tax rates won't be set until the August Board of Education meeting. And I just want to explain a little bit about what the true value tax rate is on this, because when you look at the on the previous slide where we said it was going to be, 12.83% or $12.83 per thousand, when you that is expressed as a percentage, a true value tax rate as a percentage of the actual market value of the homes and versus the assessed values of the home. So your tax bills are based on your assessed value, and your what we're showing you here is the true value tax rate. So what a true value tax rate is the rate of the entire community, the school community of every house was assessed at 100% of market value. It provides a standardized way for us to compare tax rates across multiple towns, which we have multiple towns in our school district. But this is accomplished through a state established equalization rate to get everyone to actual market value. So while we can have an entire presentation on the calculation of the true value tax rates and the tax rates that are on your bill and discussing star, I don't know that we'll be able to do that tonight, but I did want to have a brief conversation about that.
I just add, Christine, real quick, that it's important. So the budget, do you mind if we go back to the previous slide real quick? I think it's important to note. So yes, our budget to budget increase is 6.34% for next year. That is not the tax increase. That's the total expenditure increase between this year and next year. Christine did an excellent job explaining why there is that much of an increase. The actual levy, which is the entire tax levy for the Victor School community, is going out at the cap, which is a 3.04% increase. And that will not change, even if we get less state aid than we anticipate, or if we get the same state aid that we are getting that the governor said we would get, and we might get more, we might not. Ultimately, though, it doesn't matter. Whatever the state aid number is, it won't affect your taxes. We would just, if we get less aid, then or we get the same aid that the governor has said we're going to get, and we don't get any additional aid, then we'll decrease our fund balance for next year by that amount, which won't affect taxes. So either way, the levy is going up 3.04%. And again, the actual rate is a smaller increase than that, which is 1.79%.
Correct. You want to explain our comparison to our neighboring districts as well, as far as our true value tax rate?
Again, this is it's a very similar type as the per pupil expenditure. In this case, this is the true tax rate. We continue even after the vote. If it's successful, we anticipate worst case scenario, the true tax rate will go up to $13.06 per thousand. We do, and it's happened every year. We anticipate that to actually be less than that, but we can't guarantee it. So that's our worst case scenario, is a $13.06 tax rate for Victor, which again is significantly lower than the county average in Ontario, Wayne, and certainly Monroe. So again, this shows that we're trying to be fiscally responsible as much as possible to try to maintain the challenges that I know homeowners have around finances right now, but also offer that comprehensive education that Victor's known for. And Christine will talk about the next slide, which shows our trend around tax rates.
So yeah, so as you can see, our tax rate in the Victor Central School District over many years, going back to 2000, with the data that we have, has shown that that's been steadily decreasing over the year. Really, what's I think driving that is twofold. One of them is obviously the district has been very responsible with the increases in their tax levy. Another factor in this is increased growth in the community from new home construction, people moving into the district, and also more commercial property, for example. So as the assessed values in the property in the community go up, the tax rates go down. If all things being equal, the district, while they have increased the levy according to in compliance with the tax cap legislation, they have managed to have the tax rate decrease over the years.
We also understand individuals in their homes. That doesn't necessarily mean that your taxes have gone down, your individual homeowners taxes, property taxes. So we understand that this is simply it a lot also depends, right, Christine, on the assessed value of your home and if that's increased. As well as your, which is also to the equalization in your taxes. But ultimately, it is still a significantly low rate compared to districts surrounding us.
For absolutely, absolutely. You might see a higher tax rate than this on your tax bill in the fall, or a lower tax rate. But it really depends on the home equalization rates for the assessed values of the properties in the community. So another thing that you're going to see on our budget this year, we've had this in previous slides, but I just want to do another little reminder about it. We have a bus replacement plan. These are the scheduled buses to be replaced in the 25-26 school year. You will see a proposition on the ballot for that. We do finance our buses. And again, it goes over a course of a number of years so that we pay those payments, but we also get transportation aid back on that as well. So that is to keep our students being transported safe on buses that are within their maintenance windows.
And the last piece on the ballot will be Board of Education election. There are 3 open spots for the next 3 years. It's a 3-year term, and we have 3 candidates, all incumbents this year. Lisa Kostecki, and this is the old they appear on the ballot because you draw the order to try to be as fair as possible in terms of names and their listing on the ballots. But we have 3 openings and 3 incumbents are running for those 3 openings. That's Lisa Kostecki, Timothy DeLucia, as well as Elizabeth Mitchell. Those are our 3 Board of Ed candidates for the 3 positions.
So looking ahead, what is up next on our budget calendar? May 6th is our budget hearing and meet the candidates night. May 9th, the budget newsletter will be mailed out to the school district residents. You should get that shortly after it's sent out. May 13th is voter registration in district office from 3 to 7 p.m. Tuesday, May 20th is the budget vote and Board of Education election at the Victor Early Childhood Center boardroom from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And if you want any further information on our budget, please visit the website at victorschools.org/district/budget, or you can contact Tim Terranova, our superintendent, at terranovat@victorschools.org.
I think the budget hearing is going to be live streamed as well. I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure actually also going to be at the junior high, senior high auditorium, I believe. Christine, if I'm wrong, we'll put that up. We'll make sure to send that out, make sure we have the right location. But it is a great event to go to.
It will be live
Excuse
streamed.
me?
It will be live streamed, and it's at
And
the
where's the location?
senior high auditorium, Art Center.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Isaacs. And that's a great thing to watch because we'll not only do the budget hearing and the presentation, but you'll get to hear from the three candidates as well. I would encourage you to definitely look at our budget newsletter. It'll be mailed on Friday, May 9th, which means you should get it by early the following week. It is going to be packed full of information, very specific, obviously, to the budget. It also has a question and answer section as well as budget facts, biographies on the board candidates, and other information. We'd also encourage you to go, like I said, like we say on that slide, to go to our website, victor.org. There's a specific budget section for the 25-26 budget. It's going to have this on it and all subsequent videos that we do in terms of presentations. And again, it also will have a copy of the newsletter and all sorts of information and a running copy of questions and answers that we have developed over the next few weeks. So I think that's it for the PowerPoint. We want to go back on kind of just take off the PowerPoint, Christine, unless there's another slide. I don't think there is. I want to say this from a philosophy standpoint, and I should have said it at the beginning. First of all, Christine, thank you for being here with me and having the expertise that not only to come in the middle of the budget process, but to really take it over with your great leadership, and appreciate that partnership with you. We have, and we say this in the newsletter, really between 21 and 24, we significantly increased staffing in Victor School District because we had before 2021, for many years, we had one of the lowest really staff to student ratios in any district in New York State. We were incredibly understaffed in a variety of areas. That was definitely apparent that I heard about when I took over in 2020. And a lot of it had to do with the increasing student enrollment in Victor, especially anywhere between the late 90s and say 2013, 2014. There was such a huge increase in enrollment, it was very difficult to keep up with the staffing. Because of our financial situation, the community support, we were able to right size, I guess I'd use that term, our staffing between 21 and 24 and add significant amount of staff. That's really, really critically important to the functioning of our district. We are now at a stage where we're not adding staff, where we're doing whatever we can to maintain the existing staff in a financially prudent way. And that's really the philosophy of next year's budget. You know, you've heard that we're not increasing any of the staff, but costs are still increasing because of the significant cost issues, whether it's benefits, retiree benefits, utilities, insurance, you name it, the costs are skyrocketing. You see that in your own home. So we're just trying to make sure that we have a financial plan that is stable and that can maintain the staff for years to come as we continue to advocate with the state to try to get our fair share of state aid. So that's really just the general philosophy moving into next year's budget. And again, we encourage you to reach out with questions at any time. We'll not only be doing a budget hearing on May 6th, but we're also doing presentations to the local Kiwanis and also the town of Victor at the town of Victor board meeting, as well as the town of Farmington board meeting. So we look forward to those presentations, look forward to your questions. Christine, I don't know, I tried to check. I don't think we got any questions live tonight.
I did not see anything.
I'll do it real quick. Yep, I don't see any, but certainly this is going on Facebook. So as soon as it is put on there, you can add questions to it and we'll definitely take a look at it over the next few days and answer any questions. Any follow-up from you, Christine? Anything you want to add?
No, thank you very much for doing this. I think it's great to that we do it and inform the community, and you explain it very well.
Excellent. Thanks, Christine. Thanks, Darren, as always. And we'll be back in May celebrating our students, most likely a group of seniors graduating in June. That'll be the May Town Hall. Also, we're going to talk a little bit with some of our members of the Superintendent Student Leadership Group. So we're excited about the May Town Hall and joining us tonight, and continue to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you and have a great night. Take care.
Good night, everyone.